Welcome to another episode of Brand Lincoln, where we take a look around the Lincoln, Nebraska area and introduce you to business owners and influential people in the city. We are brought to you by Perch Merch. Perch Merch is a locally owned, custom screen printing and embroidery apparel shop that also specializes in vehicle wraps, decals, and all sorts of promotional products. If your business, school, or team is looking to expand your brand, head to perch-merch.com or call us at 402-217-5212.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Brand Lincoln. I am your host, Chris Beecham, joined by my co-host, Henry Schmidt.
Hi, Chris.
And producer, DJ, guy, Joe Cruz.
Hello, everyone. Super excited for this.
You are.
This
You've been
podcast
excited for a couple days now. So today in the Perch Merch studio, we have Joseph Hall.
Hello.
Hi, Joseph.
Hey, what's up, man? This is exciting for me. This is my first podcast, so this is cool.
So I'm pretty sure everybody in town knows who you are, but you are what?
I'm an Elvis tribute artist / Elvis impersonator / Elvis guy / Elvis wannabe / Yeah, that's I don't really know what the proper term is anymore.
I didn't either. That's why I let you answer it.
I don't know. And you know, there's a lot of people that feel like there's a certain term, but for me, I'm okay with anything. You know, I really am. You know, I think growing up, it was always Elvis impersonator, so I'm okay with that. But as the business became more mainstream, I guess Elvis tribute artist is the proper way to say it. But I don't care.
Got it.
I don't care.
Fan first.
Fan first.
So
yeah.
you
Huge fan first. Yeah.
That's how that. Okay, let's get into this then.
Yeah.
Is this how this started? You've always been an Elvis fan, and then you just realized you kind of looked like him?
No, actually, so like my first Elvis experience came when I was in third grade. I was living in El Paso, and I remember coming into the house, and my dad and mom were on the couch, and they were watching this Elvis special on TV. And it had been around summertime because I think it was right around the 15th anniversary of his passing. So this is probably, 92, maybe 92. And I just remember walking in and I just seen this guy on the TV, and he was in this black leather singing All Shook Up. And then it did this cut to him doing Suspicious Minds, and then it did this other cut to him playing the piano, singing Unchained Melody. And I just remember just sort of being in a trance, like the first time I'd ever been in a musical trance like that. And so that stuck with me. But my dad is the big Elvis fan. He's a big Elvis fan. He saw Elvis live in May of 77. And we moved a lot as kids. So.
Was that at the Pershing?
No, that was in Chicago.
Oh, really?
Chicago
Okay.
Stadium, yeah.
Okay.
So we moved a lot as kids, and he was the one with all the Elvis CDs. So anytime we popped in the van, it was always Elvis. So that was kind of how I kind of got introduced to Elvis.
Okay. And then it just, okay, keep going.
Yeah, and then it just sort of, you know, and then when I turned 21, my dad took me to Vegas, and that's where I saw my first, like, Elvis show, Elvis impersonator. It was a Legends in Concert show, and the guy his name was Graham Patrick, and he was doing the Young Elvis that night, and he came on stage with his gold jacket, and man, he just looked amazing, and I just remember just tripping out in my seat, like, whoa. This is awesome. This looks cool. And I think that's really what sort of started my Elvis buzz from there. Like, I think it's always been there, but that's kind of what ignited the buzz.
Like seeing someone else redo it
their way.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that is awesome.
He's not dead.
He's not dead. No, man. Spirit lives on. But so I did that, watched the show, became a huge fan. And that's right around when YouTube was becoming something, you know? And so I started Googling a lot of Elvis stuff. And I thought, you know, for Halloween, I'm going to go as Elvis. I think that's going to be fun. So did that. So my parents had the Golden Corral on 27th Street. We had that. That was our restaurant for a few years. And so I was working there. And so went to Halloween as Elvis. And that's kind of how it all started.
You've been doing this for easily over a decade.
18
Were we pushing
years.
like 18? Oh my
18,
gosh.
Yeah, I started in 2006.
What's your
Yeah.
okay? 06. What are you doing?
I'm the general manager at my dad's restaurant, Golden Corral. That's what I'm doing.
And on Friday nights, you're dressing up as Elvis.
Friday nights, I'm dressing up as Elvis. Yeah, so like,
What are your gigs starting out?
Birthday parties, little corporate party, little office parties.
You're like, hey, just throw me $75. I'm going to show up for 3 hours.
Well, actually, what it was is so we did the show at the Isles in Havelock, and we hired Bill Cresteel. And Bill Cresteel, he opened up the show, and he brought me up on stage, and I did like a few songs. And there was a lady there, and her name was Linda, and she owned the Roadhouse, which is now Rosie's. And she was a huge Elvis fan, and she brought me in, and she said, give me about an hour's worth of Elvis music, and we'll do it. So that was my first gig. That was the first gig.
Were you actually like karaoke singing or like lip singing?
It's all live. Yeah. I got a bunch of tracks. Bill Cresteel had given me some tracks, and so I had got a hold of B&K, which is this huge costume place that just specializes in recreating Elvis gear. I mean, it's all.
I'm going to need their number.
Yeah.
Totally.
And so I got me a jumpsuit, the chain suit, and I got me a leather suit. And so I did my first show there. And then from there, that's some kind of like people were coming into the restaurant and they were recognizing me. Hey, you're that Elvis guy. You're the Elvis guy. You do birthday parties. You do this, and that's how it all started. So it was all. Yeah. So in 2007, I was working the restaurant full time, and then I was Elvis on the weekends. Yeah.
So when did it become like a big, okay, I'm going to tell you my story of how I know of who you are. I was at some event at Lancaster Event Center, and it wasn't a crowded place or anything. And me and my wife were just there, and all of a sudden it started getting crowded, and they were all wearing the same shirts, and it was all these ladies or whatever. And I'm like, what is going on? And, one of the vendors is like, the Elvis impersonators here. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm like, there's literally a couple hundred people that are coming in, and they're getting ready for you to show up. And he's like, oh yeah, he's a big deal. And I was like, and then all of a sudden I heard you throughout the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, you sound very good.
Thanks. Yeah. It's a work in progress. I mean, I think that's the hardest thing doing Elvis is try to sound like Elvis.
And you had groupies though, like Elvis.
Yeah.
You still do, don't you? You have a lot, don't you?
Yeah.
They gather around the stage, and he takes
they're all outside right now.
Oh, yeah, ladies.
Thank goodness we upgraded our glass to bulletproof windows.
Was that the Women's Expo?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems like something Chris would be at.
It's something Chris got dragged to. But yeah, I was there,
Yeah, we did the Women's Expo for a few years, and that was great. It was always in January. It was in January, I think. Yeah. Yeah, Women's Expo was cool. Yeah. Yeah.
But now you have a full-fledged tour. Have you been on a reality show?
I was on America's Got Talent. That's what started this whole thing.
Okay, let's go to that. How did that happen, and what was that like?
2006,
that was 2008.
2008.
So you're just getting your feet under you.
Just getting my feet under me. Still learning what it is that I'm doing, because I mean, I've never been a singer before, so there's like really zero stage presence. I did a little theater in high school, but nothing of this. And so I was learning everything as I went along. I was just sort of teaching myself. So in 2007, I have an uncle in Hawaii, and he had a limousine business, and my dad had sent out this little promo to my uncle in Hawaii, and my uncle was playing it in his limousines, and this guy said, hey, has he ever thought about going on America's Got Talent? And my uncle's like, I don't know. I'll let him know. So my uncle called my dad and said, there's a show called America's Got Talent. Look it up. Maybe something Joseph can do. So my dad looked it up, filled out the application, and this was probably the fall of 2007. And he calls me into his office and he says, Joey, he says, you got a gig in Chicago. I was like, what? Because I mean, I'd only been doing local stuff, and he said, he says, you're going to fly out there. He said, just bring your leather suit, and, grandma will pick you up. My grandma lived in Chicago. And I said, okay, great. So my grandma picks me up from the airport.
That's the only details you have?
That's all the details I have. And so my grandma picks me up at the airport, and she takes me to Navy Pier. And I'm like, okay, is this where the show is? I'm not sure what's going on, And I go there, and I find out there is like 2-mile line of just people.
Are you thinking like, oh my gosh, all these people are here to see me?
Made it, man. Gosh, I got like 6 shows under my belt. This is it. And so I go there and I get in line, or I find a bathroom, I get ready, and then I go wait in line, and I put it together that, I call my dad, I'm like, what's going on? He's like, you're auditioning for a show called America's Got Talent. And I hadn't heard of the show. I think this was the 3rd season, so it was still fairly new. And so I was like, oh my gosh. So I waited in line with my grandma and my cousin for 8 hours.
No way.
8 hours. Yeah. In line. And I finally go into this building, and I go into this room, and it's just kind of about the size of this room, and there's just all these people in there, and they're like, okay, what's your act? And I was like, I do Elvis. I'm in full leather, What do you do?
Have you ever seen Queen?
And they're like, all right, you got 90 seconds. Go. That's it.
Oh,
90
shoot.
seconds.
And you just let it rip?
I just let it rip.
What'd you do? Do it.
I did Hound Dog. I was like, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. And I just kind of went into it. And then after that, they were like,
Oh.
okay.
They're like, we get it, but
They're like, you know what? Okay, thank you. And I was like, all right. So I walk out of the room, and then the producer comes, and they're like, we need you to go to another room. And I was like, okay. So I go into this other room, and it's a big room, and now it's more intimidating. And you have all these producers at this long table, and they're all speaking in British accents, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening here? I'm so scared. And they're like, do it again. I was like, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. And they're like, okay, thank you. Okay. So I was like, all right. So,
no feedback.
So I walk out of there, and I look at my grandma, and she's tired.
You better get on that TV.
Yeah. And so I go home, and at this time, my wife and we had just had our firstborn, Presley. His name's Presley. And
That's awesome. Great.
And we were sitting there having dinner, and this has probably been about maybe 2 days since I got back. And we're sitting there having dinner, and I get a phone call, and I don't recognize the number, but it says like California.
And this is long enough ago that you would still answer that,
right?
Instead of just thinking it's spam or I don't know, political ads now.
Yes. So I stand up from the kitchen table, and I go into my room, and I'm like, hello, and they're like, hello, this is so and so from producer from America's Got Talent, and we just want to let you know that we really enjoyed your performance, and we would like to bring you out to LA for
Holy
the
smokes.
live audition on TV. I was like, oh my gosh. And then she sent me all the itinerary and the hotel and all this information. Man, it was just a rush. It was a rush. I had no idea. And
How soon did you have to get out there?
Gosh, I felt like everything happened rather quickly.
Yeah.
Everything happened quickly. I flew out to California with my wife and my mother, and we went there and stayed at this nice hotel. And then the very next day, it was the call-in. They called us in, and I went to the theater where they were filming. I got there. They wanted us there by 11 a.m. Got there at 11 a.m. And I walked in. And it was just all these acts everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just sitting there going, oh, man, just like, wow, I don't feel like I should be here. Because, again, I've just started. I'm just starting.
You had to get somebody to cover your shift?
I had to get somebody. Yeah. I'm not going to make it in. And so I get there at 11 o'clock, and there's got to be hundreds of acts there. And then it's like 2 o'clock, and it's 3 o'clock, and it's 4 o'clock, and the room is starting to just kind of get smaller, and it's 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And I've just been sitting in this chair.
So this is a long filming thing.
This is a long filming thing, and it's about 9:30 at night, and they're like, Joseph, Elvis, we're ready for you. And I'm just like, right.
You've been there 10 hours.
Sticking to the seat.
I get, leather sticking to the seat. And I go there, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm so tired. But the second I turn the corner, and then you see all the rush of the producers, everybody's running around. And then Jerry Springer comes over to me, and he's like, Elvis. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And they're like, all right, are you ready to go out there? You got 90 seconds. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I turn the corner, I'm looking through the curtain, I see David Hasselhoff and Piers Morgan and Sharon Osbourne and the crowd there, and the lights and the stage. Man, I'm panicking, and they're like, all right, go. I just walk out on stage. I don't know if they're going to like me. I don't know if they're going to hate me. I don't know if they're going to boo me. I don't know what's going on. I'm just running off pure adrenaline, instinct, emotion. Like, I don't know what's happening. And I walk out there and it just happened so fast. Like, it's even hard to try to like remember it now because it happened so fast.
Hound Dog again.
I was like, this is the only song I know. And so I go out there and, I do the dialogue and I say, let's have a good time, folks. And then go right into it. And I have no time to think. I just went right into like, just Elvis mode, I guess. And all of a sudden, this performance is over and the crowd is cheering and the judges, they had good things to say about me. And then, they took me off stage and they said, you're going to Las Vegas. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this was just the craziest thing. It's just happening. And so then from there, we went to Las Vegas and did the second round of things. And I think that's when reality sank in. That's exactly when reality sank in, because that's when I realized that I am not prepared for this stage. I am not prepared.
Still a rookie.
Very much a rookie. Very much rookie. I was not prepared for it. I was still figuring out how to put my makeup on. I was still figuring out my Elvis moves. I was still trying to figure out my Elvis voice. I was still trying to do all these things. And, the hard part is when you're backstage and you're talking to these other talents and they're like, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, well, I've been doing this for about 6 months part-time.
And they're like, I've been a gymnast for 18 years.
Yeah, they're like, get the hell out of here.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah, they're like, what about you? I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, I'm hoping this is my big break. And I'm thinking to myself, I shouldn't be here. I should not be here.
This is their time.
I don't know how I just got in, and I did.
If they would have been better talented.
I don't know what it was because it's one of those things that I feel like it was just sort of meant to be.
Yeah,
I guess. And it's funny too because at that time I really thought I was like the only one of the only young Elvis impersonators in the world.
Oh, sure, like 50. And
I had no idea there's a whole world out there of guys that have been doing this for years and that there was festivals and all this sort of stuff. Like, that's how fresh I am. Like, I thought, you know what? I think I'm the only Elvis in the world. I'm going to make it big, of course, And so...
But a great way to figure that out at America's Got Talent, like to know that you have great potential. You're there for a reason, but now as your own artist, you realize I got a long ways to go.
Long ways to go.
Yeah.
Long ways. And I'm still going that. I'm still learning. I'm still wanting to get better. And so the second round was not a good round for me. I don't know how I got through the second round. And then
did you do the same act?
No.
I saw the Suspicious Minds.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I don't remember what
I've been trying to get Joe to the beginning of the Elvis movie. He does Suspicious Minds, but it's slower.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, that's the studio.
But you can't find the whole song. Can we record that and then
let's do it? Let's go to the studio. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And so yeah, I really don't know how I got past the rounds. I really don't know because looking back, I'm just like, man, I didn't really know what I was doing. And the thing was too is when you're there, they're in full control. Mm-hmm. You have zero creativity control. Zero. You just do what they tell you to do. Hound Dog was the only song that I chose that I wanted to do. And I wanted to do Love Me Tender, and they're like, no, let's do something a little more upbeat. Hey, and so they're like, let's do Heartbreak Hotel. And I was like, okay, let's do that one. And, that went off. And then the next one, they said, let's do Jailhouse Rock. I was like, I'd rather do something that I feel more comfortable doing. But they're like, no, this is what we want you to do. So you played the game. You do what they want you to do. And they had this musical director in this trailer, and you go in there, and he'd spend about maybe 20 seconds with you. And he was like, all right, got it. Next. And it's just like, I was like, wow, okay. So then they would give you the tape that, you're going to rehearse, and you're sitting there trying to rehearse it and get ready for a live taping. Yeah, that was crazy. And then, but it was also the year of the Olympics. So after I think the second round or third round, I'm not sure, we went on break for a couple months. And so then to come back to California and to go through all that again, and it was quite the experience.
How far did you get?
Top 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got to top 10.
I
And
mean,
the
I'm
whole
pretty
time
sure
you're
anybody
just-
listening is Googling it right now.
Yeah, I know, right?
You can find the
But
clips.
that's
I
incredible.
think
though.
so. I'm pretty sure you can.
That's
I
crazy.
don't. I
The
don't.
way you were
I don't
telling
go,
that
I don't
story,
go
I was
through it.
like, oh, he didn't make it past the second round.
No,
And
no.
then you just
No,
kinda
he's
start
like, yeah,
talking about-
top
like,
10.
Yeah,
I
I
shouldn't have
top
been
10.
there.
I made it to I made the second round. The third round was Jailhouse Rock, and they did this thing where they wanted the girls to see. They took over, and they did this thing where they wanted to rip my jacket off, and I was like, no, this doesn't feel Elvis to me. It feels more, Barbie doll kind of feel. Like, they were trying to turn me into something, and I wanted to do other songs, and they wouldn't let me do them, and so I just, like I did, I was a good sport about it. I was a good sport about it.
You played the game.
I played the game. I was a good sport about it. There were people on there that had been doing their act for a while, and they're like, no, this is what I'm going to do, and they're like, all right,
Later.
Oh,
later.
wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah.
Good to
Yeah.
know.
So if you would have pushed for Love Me Tender, they probably would have been see you, Joseph.
See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Who won that year?
Neil Boyd, he was an opera singer. Yeah, he was an opera singer, and he did that, and it's tough because I look back at that experience, and I'm a little mad at myself because I didn't soak up the experience because I was too in my head. Where now if I would have had the opportunity to go back, I would enjoy the setting. I would enjoy being amongst the other entertainers. I would have this sense of confidence in my act and what I was doing, and just really soak up the whole experience. But, I was scared. I was out there in California by myself. I was in my room. I locked myself in my room, didn't go out, didn't associate with, with anybody, didn't do anything. Just worried in my head, like thinking, is this it? Is this my big break? How do I do this? How do I become Elvis? I started got in my head, started putting all this extra pressure on myself. And that was really tough on me. And I wish I could go back and like tell myself, like, you know what, dude, everything's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Just enjoy the moment, enjoy the experience,
So for the listeners that are aspiring to be, performers, you heard it here first. That was it.
Yeah, I thought you were going to repeat
It's
it.
gonna be. It's gonna be okay. Yeah, don't get in your head. Don't get in your head. That's. I think that's the worst thing you could do in any sort of, whatever. Whether it's sports or stage or even your job. Just don't get in your head. You get in your head, you start doubting yourself. You start spiraling. It's a really bad rabbit hole to go down. You start doubting yourself and why are you here? What's going on? But yeah, it was. Hollywood was scary. It was a scary place for somebody who isn't in that field, because even today amongst entertainers, I still feel like an outsider. Like I didn't grow up with the aspirations to be on stage. It wasn't my thing. It just happened, And so even today, when I do like these Elvis festivals and whatnot, and I'm amongst other Elvis guys, I still feel like an outsider. I still feel like I'm still trying to prove myself to them. Like I'm still trying to work my way up, up the ranks. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about these other festivals and stuff, because I've seen there's the Elvis competitions. Being able to see all these different Elvis impersonators, like, it's just amazing. Like,
cool.
I am blown away. Well, one, I'm a big Elvis guy, and just his charisma and the flair he puts into it. Like Elvis glasses. You look at a pair of these shades and oh, these are Elvis glasses. There's not another pair of glasses that are identified to one person. Like it's awesome.
Yeah. He is so good. He is the king. I mean, he is it. I think people don't realize like how influential he is, on American pop culture. And to me, he's like the original blueprint, I really do feel like
of like a celebrity,
of everything. Yeah. I mean, just, from the 50s and what to do, what not to do, how to come back, how to like, become relevant again.
Yeah.
And then it's the sad story of, like just the fall. Yeah. Elvis is cool. If you ever get a chance to really just dive into his story, I mean, it's one like none other. It really is.
I just would still like to go back. Like, okay, so we were on America's Got Talent. That ends. Does it just?
Yeah. How do you ride that momentum?
Transition? Yes.
Being on America's Got Talent was so exhausting mentally. And so when I was up there on stage and they're announcing, going from 10 to 5, and when they didn't announce me, there was a part of me that felt so relieved I could go home. It's like, oh, this is just a lot for me. And I go home, and literally the next day, my dad is getting phone calls from everywhere. I'm talking about, we're getting phone calls from the West Coast, East Coast, everything. And everything just, boom, starts to happen, right? Instantly, gigs just start coming in. And so my dad's managing the restaurant at that time. And, at that time, he's like, well, let's just ride this wave. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So we start. So I was like, all right, I gotta get down and start learning what it is I'm supposed to be doing, and that's when I kind of really started training. I really started my Elvis training right there and then. I know it's weird to say that I started my Elvis training after I just
gotten top 10.
Top 10 of America's Got Talent. But that's when it mentally hit. Like I was like, okay, I've just done that. I feel like I can see it now, and now I can move forward. And so that's what it is. So 2008, we started booking, and it went through 2009. And then 2010, we moved to Branson, and I did 6 seasons in Branson. And that's where I learned the most, was in Branson.
Oh, yeah.
Working with live musicians, guiding you, telling you, no, try to hit this note. Let's do this way. Let's move it this way. Shift this way. Do that. It was like going to Branson was like going to a university of like how to be an entertainer. And I'll always be grateful for that. And I learned so much from so many great artists in Branson. And then,
so were you like on a variety show out there? Did you have your own show?
I was doing my own show.
You had your own show in Branson.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, you were on at this time?
How often?
I was, so the first year we were there, we were doing 5 shows a week.
Holy cow.
And that was, that's a learning experience, man. And that's how you get better.
And this was a good show. This I did well. This show, I need to work on this.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And like in anything else, I'd always watch the film, and just be like, okay, that worked. That didn't work. That looks good. That didn't look good. Let's change that. And looking back, I wish I wouldn't have been. I think my ego got in the way of me becoming better faster because I didn't want to ask for help. At this point, I never had any vocal training. I was still learning. I was set on like, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to teach myself. This is how I'm going to do it. And even to this day, like, I don't even know if I do things right, but it just feels right. So I just go with it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
And
that's okay.
And it was the artists in Branson. They would guide me. They're like, all right, try this way. Try that way.
That was good. We can make it better.
That was good. Yeah, we can make it better. And so that training, that's really what pushed me to the next level. And in 2016, I moved back to Nebraska, and I feel like, okay, I'm home. Now I'm ready. Let's do this. Let's do it. I know what I'm doing. I know how I want to do it. Let's go. Because now I have, 8 years under my belt at this point. So now I know I can see where I want to go, how I want to do this, how to get better. And then, so in 2016, then we just start traveling. I travel just about every weekend. We do about 90 to 100 shows a year now.
Oh my God.
So yeah, we stay busy. This is full time. This is what we do. It's a family business.
Yeah.
My dad's my manager. He's the colonel.
Yep. He's a blast.
He's the colonel.
He's a blast at the show.
Oh, he's the best. I love my dad. He's so good. And then my mom, she works with all the costumes, and my sister, she does all the sound, all the lights, all the media. My nephew, he's the muscle of the group, so he's like our roadie. He's this tall guy, just strong, and he brings in the totes and he does the spotlight, And of course, my wife she's back home and with our 4 kids, and she's just like that rock support, like go do it, go do what you got to do,
that's great.
And so that's what we've been doing. I got some close friends that travel with us, and that's my crew, and we have a great time. Man. It's a good time.
Yeah, I've seen you. It must have been early on. I think it might have been before America's Got Talent at Wilderness Ridge, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Like, great fun show. That's when I realized, holy smokes, this guy is fun. And he gets these ladies in the crowd involved like no other.
Yeah.
And then I saw you again, probably just after you came back around 2016 at, where'd you get married?
Gala.
At the gala.
Yep. Yeah.
And then I was like, holy smokes, because you had added so much more. Oh, yeah. And you had a Johnny Cash impersonator of that show.
Yeah.
R.I.P. I know he just passed a few years ago.
Yeah,
but the production, it was the lighting effects. Yeah, like you said,
it was all Branson, man. It was all the training.
So cool.
It was like I went to the University of EP. You know what I mean? Like, it was just
Joe should go there.
Yeah.
Don't give him ideas.
It was such a learning thing. I learned, one of the things that I picked up in Branson was, acknowledging your veterans.
Oh, sure.
Huge.
Yeah.
Never thought of it. Those things never crossed my mind.
Yeah.
And just a lot of little show things like that, how to, sell merchandise properly, how to do this, how to, really move things around, and yeah, it was cool. Branson it was a tough market to be successful in. You really needed a lot of backing, and you really needed they had their own game over there too. The FITs, the timeshares, it's a whole political world. When you talk to people in Branson, some of the older talent, they'll mention the golden age of Branson, and that's when people would actually walk up to the window and pay full price for a show. Where now today it's the market saturated with, I have tickets for $5, $10, and you sell me this, and I'll sell this, and I'll push that, and it's a lot of that.
Wow.
It's the and so that's what made it really hard for me to be successful in Branson, I guess, in my eyes. So being on the road, traveling to all these little towns, you're the talk of the town. You're it, man. I was in Denison, Iowa last week, and we had over 200 fans there, and full price. Boom. I mean, that's
a good night.
That's how you make a
I
living.
have friends in Denison. I'll have to see if they checked you out.
I was at the Donna Reed.
But that is the whole town,
Donna
isn't it?
Reed, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. Gosh, and that's the goal. That's the plan. I understand that with Branson, I had a full band, and I had the singers, and I had all the big lighting, the big stage, and the dancers, and all this sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean that's a lot of slices of pie to give out. But being able to be on the road with my family means more to me than anything right now. To do what I love to do, and to do it the way I want to do it. And to have their support, and to know that, we go and make 200 people happy, and we go home. Yeah.
That's awesome. Good
It
for
is
you.
great.
It's so awesome.
It
man.
is great.
It's awesome. And I don't know how long it's going to last. A lot of people are like, well, how long do you plan on being Elvis? You know what?
As long as everybody will allow me. Yeah.
As long as I can. I do know I don't want to get to that point where people are like,
It's not what it used to
he
be.
shouldn't. He doesn't. Yeah, he should.
I'm a Vegas guy, so I see a lot of them. Yeah, and they're like, bro. I know.
Shift into
You got the right outfit.
to Fat Elvis soon. Yeah.
I do. I want to hold on to it as long as I can. And somebody told me, Kevin Mills, another Elvis guy, he told me, he says, the trick to staying in this business is taking care of your body. You got to take care of your body. He goes, because, if a promoter is looking to hire Elvis, and he's got 2 Elvises, and maybe the other Elvis sounds more like Elvis, but he's going to hire the guy that's in, more eye appealing.
It looks like young Elvis.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Like he's gonna go with the guy that looks more stage presentable than the other guy that's just not cutting it out. And so I've never forgot that. So, trying to stay healthy on the road is a very difficult thing.
Oh yeah.
It's very difficult. I've made it easier since going vegetarian,
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I went I went vegan, and then I realized that, I do like my cheese. I do like my cheese and eggs. But in 2020, I had gotten to 2020 was just a crazy year for all entertainers. And I was like, there was part of me that when this whole thing happened with COVID, I was like, oh yeah, 3-4 months. Yeah. Just take a break and grow a beard. And I was like, oh yeah, I've never been able to grow a beard. And I grew a beard. And I was like, hair was real long, had it in a man bun. I was like, yeah, this is it. And I was like, all right, but I'm ready to go back to work. And I was like, no, you can't go back to work. And I was just like, man. So, I really started to miss the stage, started to miss the fans, started to miss all that.
Well, you even put
on a lot of weight that year.
You did a home show during COVID.
Yeah, did a couple of those Facebook Live things, But what was weird about that was like, you put it up and then somebody would take it down. You had to I do not own the rights to this or that or, but it'd go up and it'd go down and had to try to re-upload it again. And I don't know, that was sort of weird too. I'm sure there's a whole nother something else going on with that stuff over there. But so 2020 became a tough year. So my wife and I just got back from Vegas, and I was like, man, I weigh 240 pounds. I need to do something. And we had just finished watching this documentary on Netflix, Game Changers. I don't know if you've seen it or not. And it's this guy that's just this bodybuilder guy, and he did it on a vegan diet. And so we're like, all right, let's do it. And now that was it. The next day, September 15th, I was like, let's start. And haven't gone back since. So yeah. And I think that's what's really helped me on the road is because of the lack of vegan and vegetarian options on the road, you have to meal prep. Oh, gotcha. That is the secret.
Oh yeah.
To staying fit is meal prepping on the road. And so my wife she's absolutely amazing. She meal preps all my meals, and and it saves a lot of money too.
So how do people find you, find your tour dates? Are you on all social media, website? Tell us.
JosephHallElvis.com.
That's pretty simple to remember.
That's it. Yeah, you go there. The shows are on there. There's a link to my Facebook. Yeah, that's the best way to stay in touch with me is through Facebook. Instagram. I like Instagram better than Facebook now.
Got it.
I do. I like Instagram better.
I'm still new to the Instagram world.
Joseph Hall Elvis is my Instagram thing. But yeah, that's a whole nother thing too, is trying to stay relative in this social media world of things. You know what I mean? Gosh, that is tough because marketing has changed. So my dad, he's the guy that, is in charge of all the marketing, and it used to be radio, newspaper, flyers. Now it's none of that stuff works. So now you got to really play a role in social media too.
Yeah, they got to know who you are on there before they buy your tickets to see you.
Right.
Yeah. No,
and that's a tough game too, because that's tough to handle when you got wife, 4 kids, and you can't be sitting there scrolling on the phone all day. That's so hard. Kudos to anybody that does.
I promise I'm doing work right now. I'm not just scrolling through
research.
I'm not just looking at Elvis pictures. I promise you.
I can look better than that.
I can look better. Yeah, I got to do that. That's another thing too, man. It's there's so many eras of Elvis Presley. It's hard to try to put together a show that encompasses all the eras correctly. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of guys that do the wigs and things like that, and kudos to them. But I'm not comfortable doing that yet. You know what I'm saying?
Well, you certainly got the hair for it.
Yeah, I don't think you need to at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily a hair thing. It's more the getting it authentically right. Does that make sense?
It does, but I keep looking at your hair. And
yeah.
When you got out of the car, we knew exactly. We're like, that's our guy.
That's him right over there.
What's your favorite Elvis era?
The 70s.
Yeah.
Love the 70s, man. I think Elvis Presley in the jumpsuit.
Yep, me too.
Me too. And all the rings and the glasses and the scarves and just that, just his whole aura, just walking with cape and everything. It's Superman.
Having his boys open the doors for him all over. Yeah.
So cool, dude. It's so rock star.
What's your favorite Elvis movie?
Okay.
Well, let me rephrase that. Not an Elvis Presley movie, but a movie about Elvis.
Oh, movie about
Yeah, yeah.
Elvis. Okay. All right. Well, obviously the Austin Butler one was,
Okay, sure.
was
Just
great.
blew everyone away.
Blew everyone away. Before that, I would have said the Kurt Russell.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was 1979. That was pretty good.
Made for TV movie.
And then I think it was 2 years ago. There's a movie called Heartbreak Hotel. And it's this weird spin-off of a story of Elvis, right? And I think what happens is like Elvis gets kidnapped, and like this is in 1972, he got kidnapped, and he went to stay at some person's house, and he was just like, this feels good to, be somewhere where nobody knows you. And he's like mowing the grass, like doing all the like average Joe stuff, you know what I mean? And then he's like, all right, it's time to get back to the stage. And he goes back to the stage. But yeah, it's this weird kind of.
That's exactly what it is. He gets kidnapped and then he experiences normal life.
Yeah, experiences normal life. Yeah, I think that was so.
It did not perform well at the box office.
It's a good movie, man.
My favorite's Bubba Hotep. Have you seen this one?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh my gosh. So what I love about it, the premise is Elvis is being tired of being the king. So he finds an impersonator to replace, they switch places, but the impersonator has a bad heart and he's the one that dies.
Oh no.
So Elvis is stuck being the fake Elvis, gets sent to a crazy asylum, and he's about like 90 in this movie. He's played by Brian Campbell, but he's like, no, I'm really Elvis Presley. You got to believe me. Like, okay, quiet, you crazy old person. Like, and then there's a mummy and they save the day. That's a whole thing, but it's great.
Gosh, yeah, I haven't seen that. I'll have to watch
check it
that.
out. Check it out.
That is pretty cool. Gosh.
All right. Well, we'll close with we like to ask our guests what you like to do around town in this great city of Lincoln, since it's the Brand Lincoln podcast.
Yeah. What do I like to do?
Yeah. What does Elvis do around Lincoln?
Oh man, I tell you what, going out is so difficult.
Are you recognized like at the grocery store?
I yell at him every time I see him.
Okay, Joe, we know you yell at people.
Trick-or-treating, and this fool goes up behind me, trick-or-treating. I was like, what are you doing in my neighborhood?
He's like, here just to see you.
Scared me, man. So this is funny. So in the early years, for me, I would go to Walmart and I got recognized everywhere. Everywhere I would go, just got recognized. And that was really cool. And then now it's differently. Now it's the whole like they'll make eye contact with me and I'll go.
Just a little head nod.
Little head nod. Yeah, it's head nod. It's like, I see you're busy. Yeah, I got 4 kids. They see I'm busy. And they'll just kind of give me that like. And I'll just kind of give it back to them like.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah. It's a respect thing. It's pretty cool. It really is. It's pretty cool. Last night I was at Patty's Pub. And I walked in, and the guy at the table goes, Elvis just walked in.
And so you're like, damn it, I was wearing a beanie.
I was wearing a beanie. And it's funny. So on the way out, I love to be the guy that plays the touch tunes. You know what I mean? I'm that guy. Like, I'm like, all right, just take my phone over here.
Yeah, it's like you do it on your phone.
Waiting for it to play before you walk in.
So as I was walking out of Patty's Pub last night, I walked right past that table that was like, Elvis is here. And I put on Suspicious Minds on the jukebox. They're like,
Elvis has left the
building. Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's really cool. And the thing about Lincoln, they have really, really embraced me. And the support that I get from the fans is something I'm just so thankful for, and they are so good to me. The Elvis community is so good. There's just so many great fans and good people, and it's all for the love of the music. It's all for the love of Elvis Presley, and I think that's the one thing you have to remember when you're in this business is that there is only one Elvis Presley, and you are a tribute artist, and you are paying tribute to him. And the fans know that, recognize that, and appreciate that. And, as long as you keep your feet on the ground and you're kind to people and do Elvis the best that you can do Elvis, I think you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
Well, that was perfect ending. Okay. And with that, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. This was awesome.
That was awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you
Joe.
very much.